So it's been a few weeks since we started this series in the little book of James, probably the first letter that was written in the New Testament. And I held up this little coin collector thing that I've had for many, many years. And we called this series Vintage Mintage. And today we're actually going to take a look at one coin that this particular folder collects, and that's the Lincoln penny, as an illustration of wisdom from above versus foolish wisdom that leads things astray. I want to give you a reminder, though, that these are a part of 12 wisdom lessons that's in this little book. And we are on number 4, true versus false wisdom. And we've looked at several key verses along the way. We talked about how everybody belongs. My brothers and sisters, believers in our Lord Jesus Christ, must not show favoritism. Then we talked about everybody believes. What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? How can such a faith save them? Last time we looked at everybody boasts. Wisdom coin number 3 reminds us, likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but makes great boasts. Today, I want to talk a little bit about everybody behaves. Now, we've heard this all of our life. Sometimes adults say to children, behave, right? But you need to add something to that, because you can behave good or you can behave bad. You can behave wisely or you can behave foolishly. Our key verse is verse 13 of chapter 3. Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in humility that come from wisdom. Let that sink in for a moment. Have you ever known someone that talks a good game, but their deeds don't back up what their mouth professes? In other words, these are individuals that we might initially be impressed with, but their behavior then defies its value. Wisdom is shown through deeds, not words. Behavior is the currency of wisdom. And there's a behavior that comes from wisdom, and there's a behavior that comes from foolishness. And wisdom, the word itself, has been highly prized all through human histories. Greek loved wisdom. They pursued philosophy and tried to understand what is called Sophia, the word that is used for wisdom in Greek. The Jewish people had a search for wisdom. And King Solomon, many thousands of years ago, when he was about to take the throne from his father David, offered a prayer as he began his reign, and he asked, God, give me wisdom to know how to govern these people correctly. And God did give to him wisdom. And the book of Proverbs is kind of a summary of many of the insights that he saw over the course of not only his reign, but in the human experience and in his own personal history as well. And many of the Proverbs are these succinct, very pithy sayings that can be remembered, and they are written in such a way that we can carry them with us if we want to have insight in the moment. You know, answer a fool according to his folly. But then another proverb says, don't answer a fool according to their folly. You have to have the ability to discern which is the better choice to make in that given situation. Proverbs goes on and says this in chapter 4, and I want you to take note of what it says in chapter 4, verses 5 through 9. Solomon says, get wisdom. Get understanding. Do not forsake my words or turn away from them. This is wisdom speaking. Do not forget my words or turn away from them. Do not forsake wisdom, for she will protect you. Love her, and she will watch over you. The beginning of wisdom is this: get wisdom. That's the beginning of wisdom. Get wisdom. Though it cost all you have, get understanding. Cherish her, and she will exalt you. Embrace her, and she will honor you. She will give you a garland to grace your head and present you with a glorious crown. What does wisdom entail? It's not the same thing as knowledge, although it depends on knowledge. Wisdom seems to include understanding and incorporation of some type of moral framework upon which we make decisions. And when it's working, so wisdom can lead to sober judgment, and it can give to us the ability to determine what is the better way to go. Wisdom is the ability to make sound judgments, and decisions are also based upon experience and understanding into life, insight, perspective. So in this series, Mintage, the coin that we are looking at today is the Lincoln penny. Now, why are we choosing the Lincoln penny? Well, there is in this folder a lot of old coins, but notice how many of them are empty. These old vintage coins are hard to come by. And the oldest one I have is 1915, but it doesn't really show the date all that well. But the one that I have that's in the best condition is the one that's on the screen here, 1930. And this Lincoln penny, as you know, is a part of the U.S. Treasury mint. And it is going to be phased out very soon. The U.S. Treasury is going to start to phase out the production of pennies. Pennies are still legal tender. However, it costs more to produce a penny than its face value. So they're going to start phasing these out. And we all know how annoying a penny can be. You're standing at the cash register, right? And it comes out to be 95 or 96 or 97 cents, right? And then the change is given back to you in 3 pennies, and you kind of, what am I to do with this? Most of us take it home and throw it in a jar, right? And it does add up over time, but stores have chosen a unique technique of give a penny or take a penny, right, at the cash register. Because pennies, they're not worth a whole lot, but it might force you, if you don't have a penny, if something comes out to be $1.03, to break another dollar, and then that gives you 97 cents that you got to put in your pocket or your purse, and you got to carry around with you. So I kind of understand why they're phasing out pennies. However, what we understand is the iconic nature of coins in the Lincoln penny. It's not only a piece of currency, it is also representative of a period of time where our country was searching for wisdom in the moment. You see the central profile of Abraham Lincoln, and it was minted to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. But the penny also represents the life on it. And what you find is that on the backside of these old pennies are wheat. The wheat was to symbolize the humble beginnings of Abraham Lincoln, who was born on a farm, who grew up without much, but saw his way to the most important position in the country. So this penny is more than a monetary unit. It is also a monograph of a person's life. And one of the things that Lincoln had was wisdom. His wisdom was shown throughout the leadership during the Civil War, his moral clarity on slavery, even his ability to empathize with his opponents. And one of the things that you might take note of is that his moral clarity comes through in some of the things that he wrote to other people. So in 1864, in a letter to Albert Hodges, he wrote, "If slavery is not wrong, nothing is wrong." And it shows his moral conviction. On the other hand, he had empathy and humility. Lincoln approached others with this type of wisdom, and he resisted demonizing his enemies, including the Confederacy. And he wrote in his second inaugural address, "With malice toward none and with charity toward all." Wisdom comes through in the life of the person of Lincoln. His respect for the Constitution and democratic process. He said things like, "I am a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis." His patience was shown to all kinds of people, and in his annual message to Congress in 1862, he said, "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate to the stormy present." How do you get wisdom? Well, you get wisdom over time. It doesn't come instantaneously. It's a non-linear journey, and it involves different types of things. So the big idea is everyone lives by some sort of wisdom in their own mind. And it can be wisdom from above, or it can be wisdom from below. And we all tend to behave according to the wisdom that we believe in our head. True wisdom shines through deeds, not just words. In other words, sometimes people make big boasts, but they don't live up to what they claim. Behavior is the currency of wisdom, and that's why in verse 13, James says, "Who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom." Wisdom is seen in behavior, not just what you believe in your head. And so you can read these passages like Proverbs 1, 1 through 7, and Proverbs 4, 5 through 9, and it reminds us that wisdom is almost like a personification, a person that walks with us in the course of life. So what do we do? Well, two kinds of wisdom. We might call one true and one false. And in this little paragraph that we find in James, here's how he describes both. He says, in false wisdom, there's bitter envy, selfish ambition, boasting, disorder, and evil practices. But with true wisdom, there is purity and peace-loving and consideration and submissiveness that's full of mercy and good fruit. It's impartial and sincere. But not all wisdom is alike, because wisdom kind of follows this set of concentric circles here. If you go to the center of it, there's those things that are necessary truths. These are things that we live by each and every day. These are truths that cannot be denied. It's almost like mathematics. 2 + 2 is 4 all the time, right? It's the certainty of things like laws of gravity. If you're going to jump off something high, you're going to hit the ground unless you have something to overcome it. Necessary truths to live by, whether it's mathematics or laws of nature, these are the things that we take to heart. But then out from that center circle are things that are firmly established facts. These are things that you could, see shades of, but there's truth to the core of it. So if you do not drink enough liquids, you will dehydrate. But what we don't know is how much liquid, right? So the firmly established fact is we need to drink enough not to dehydrate, but Is that 8 ounces? Is that 16 ounces? How much is that? There's a little bit of flex in there. The third concentric circle here is things that are uncertain. Is there life on other planets? We don't know. Is it worth pursuing? Probably. How can we verify it? I don't know. It's worth considering, it's worth pursuing, it's worth contemplating, but can we really be certain about it? No. Then the last concentric circle is opinions. Opinions. These are things that come out of our own perspective. I mean, we all know that dogs make better pets than cats. See? That's simply what? An opinion. Now, what shapes that opinion? Well, dogs are better pets than cats for me because I'm allergic to cats. So cats will make me sneeze and make my eyes water, and so these type of things shape my opinion. Are you following what I'm saying? But it's only an opinion. You have opinions, I have opinions, all God's children have opinions, right? About what they think is best for them. And so whether it is something as simple as dogs make better pets than cats, or something that might bring the ire of someone else, if someone was to say Taylor Swift is the greatest performer ever, you might have young ladies that say, yeah, that's true. And while some of us who grew up in the 70s might say, no, Led Zeppelin, right? Cat Stevens, the Eagles, they're all much better. But it's an opinion. Okay, so when we look at different types of wisdom, we agree on the necessary, we'll probably agree on the firmly established, but we will vary a little bit with uncertainties and opinions. But it doesn't matter really how I think about it in my head, because how does it reveal itself in my behavior? What is it producing? Is it producing things like envy, ambition, boasting, disorder, or evil practices? Or is it bringing about purity and peace-loving and consideration and mutual submission and mercy and good fruit of that kind? You know, we could also have categories of untruth as much as truth, and we call things like untruth, things like ignorance and falsehood and lies and delusions and deviation, or even propaganda for that matter. But wisdom is seen in behavior, and false wisdom likewise is seen in behavior. And James says this has an earthly source, but then he calls it demonic, almost as if the earthly perspectives of how we make decisions sometimes it influences supernaturally as well. Now, what he means by demonic, it's hard to say. The first letter written in the New Testament does not give us a definition. Does he actually believe in demons, or is he talking about it as a part of something that influences us, that forces us to do things beyond good decisions? So it usually leads to disorder and every evil practice that he says here, but it's counterfeit. It's not real wisdom. It's boasting, pushing yourself forward. It's a denial of truth, twisting reality. It's disorder, which is chaos. It's every practice that can be evilly applied in any situation, greed and gossip and things like that. But the real essence of wisdom comes from above. Verse 17, the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure and peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy, good fruit, impartial and sincere. How do I know that comes from above? We see the result of it. Heavenly wisdom produces peace and righteousness. The wisdom here that James is talking about is a harvest of righteousness. It's a harvest of doing what is right. You know, we are all biased. I think, therefore I am biased. There is an element of self-perspective because there's an element of self-protection that we all have. And that kind of forces us to make decisions the way we make them. But am I making a good decision? You know that by the results. Is it good fruit? Is it impartial? Is it sincere? And most importantly, is it full of mercy? Or is it full of vengeance? Is it full of retaliation? Is it full of hate? So James is telling us, as we walk through this world, whether we are living out necessary truth or firmly established facts, or if we're grappling with uncertainties and opinions, there is an element that we can recognize. What will bring about the best in this situation? Not from my perspective. I think, therefore, I am biased. But from God's perspective, and more importantly, through the teachings of Jesus, will this give to me the type of fruit that leads to a fuller life? So we might contrast it like this, bringing all these threads together. Heavenly wisdom is shown through good conduct and humility, pure with clean motives and integrity, bringing peace and unity because it's gentle and considerate and submissive and open to reason, because it's merciful and full of good fruit, because it's impartial and sincere, and it leads to a harvest of righteousness. On the other hand, earthly foolishness. Now, James does not call this foolishness, but that's what it is. That's what's contrasted in the book of Proverbs. It's the battle between wisdom and foolishness that the book tells us about. So if we use the word foolishness, this is how it looks. It's shown through boasting, envy, selfish ambition, corrupt, being driven by personal gain and deceit, causing disorder, conflict, and chaos, is harsh, abrasive, and self-centered, stubborn and unwilling to yield, cold, often producing harmful consequences, biased, shown through manipulation, and hypocrisy that leads to confusion and evil deeds. So maybe we can summarize it like this. What kind of wisdom are we living by? Everybody behaves, but how are we behaving? Are we behaving wisely or foolishly? Are we behaving good or bad? And our life shows the type of wisdom that we are living by. Earthly wisdom builds you up. Earthly wisdom is counteracting foolishness. Heavenly wisdom builds others up and glorifies God. Earthly wisdom, which is that foolishness that just wants to be self-centered and self-exalting. Heavenly wisdom that builds someone else up. So here's an application for us today. James isn't describing behaviors, he's describing also roots of behaviors. And he's telling us that the kind of wisdom we live by, whether it's from above or below, will produce a different kind of fruit in our lives. Foolishness often hides behind clever arguments, ego, or even looking successful, but roots are full of pride and its fruit is in division. Wisdom from above is quieter and gentler and far more powerful. Its roots are humility, and its fruit is peace and righteousness. So in any given situation, we can ask ourselves three questions. Do my actions reflect humility and peace? Am I driven by ambition or guided by purity? And what kind of harvest is my life sowing? And in the moment, the call to action is to live out the wisdom of Christ. So I want to come back for a moment to Abraham Lincoln. I want us to imagine Lincoln for a moment. And I want us to imagine him giving us a soliloquy on wisdom. It might sound something like this. I have known many clever men in my time, eloquent, studied, full of facts and figures, but wisdom is not the same as learning. A man may read every book in the land and yet lack common judgment of a farmer who watches the skies and knows when the rain is coming. Wisdom, as I have come to see it, is the quiet voice within that bids a man to pause, to listen longer than he speaks, and to weigh the rights of others as carefully as his own. It is the balance between conviction and humility. Too often in the bustle of government or the clamor of crowds, we are tempted to act swiftly, to answer every wrong with our own brand of justice. But wisdom teaches patience. It teaches that some truths ripen slowly, and some victories must wait upon the conscience of a people. I do not pretend to possess great wisdom. I have stumbled as all men do. But if I have learned anything, it is this: that right is not always loud, and reason is not always quick. The wise man seeks not merely to be proven correct, but to be just. The burdens of this office are heavy. Many times I have looked to heaven, not for power, but for guidance. For what we are, if not instruments of something greater, called to do right as God gives us to see the right, even if the world sees otherwise. Let others chase glory or praise. Let history judge whether I was wise. I shall be content if I have acted with principle, tempered by mercy, and if I have held firm to the belief that wisdom begins and ends with the care of our fellow man. So you plug an idea into AI. What if Lincoln had given a soliloquy on wisdom? Not bad, right? So I tried it again. Let me give you another one. It's not as long. Here's the second one. What if Lincoln was to realize that wisdom is not worth a cent if it's not shown in behavior? Here's what AI tells me. There are times when a man may offer the calm counsel of reason, speak with care and measure his words, only to find that such wisdom is received no better than a beggar's coin, not worth a cent to those who crave noise over thought. In the court of public opinion, it is often not wisdom that holds sway, but clamor. A bold lie shouted loud may find more favor than a quiet truth whispered with care. And yet, wisdom does not shout, it does not demand, it waits. If wisdom were priced in gold, it might be ignored all the same. For many do not seek it. They seek affirmation or advantage or vengeance. But wisdom seeks only what is just, and is that, perhaps, why it is often goes unsold. Still, I believe it has value, not in the coin of men, but in the currency of conscience. It may not pay in power or popularity, but it buys peace of mind. And in the stillness of night, when the voices are gone, that is worth more than all the applause of the day. Not bad. Not bad at all. So we come back to this coin. Yeah, it represents Lincoln, but it represents more than his humble beginnings and the wheat fields that are represented on the back of those old Lincoln pennies. But there was a change in the Lincoln penny. So when you come to the currency of our year, 2025, did you know there's something else on the back? It's no longer wheat. It's now a shield. Fascinating. It's the shield of protection over e pluribus unum. Out of many, one. Unity. And that's what Proverbs was telling us, right? Wisdom is like a shield that watches over our life and guards our heart and guards the paths that we take. So who is wise and understanding among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in humility that come from wisdom. Because wisdom is a shield to those who walk uprightly, and she guards the path of the righteous and delivers them from the snare of the foolish. Out of a little paragraph of contrast, we have the opportunity in any given moment, right, to make choices. of either wisdom or foolishness, and usually the consequences of that follow us. It follows us, and we can't get rid of it until we start making better choices. And then we see a new path opens up in front of us. And what's true of us as individuals is also true of us as a nation and as a species made in the image of God. Stand with me, would you please? I wonder why Jesus instituted the Eucharist. It must be something to do with memory. It seems like wisdom is rooted in memory when you reflect back. And those little mementos, those memorabilia moments that we collect, allow us to take the wisdom of the past and bring it into the present. We've been cleaning out my dad's house, and it's being sold, and it closes tomorrow. And it's been a lot of work because he held on to everything. And I wonder why. I began to think about that a little bit more. He didn't want to let anything go because maybe it meant something to him. Doesn't mean much to me necessarily, but it did to him. It's hard to let go of those things that form you, isn't it? It's hard to let go of those things that other people might consider useless, but to you, they mark a moment that comes back to your memory. And yes, it had to be done. Things had to be sorted out. Things had to be, given away. But some things are kept. And those things that are kept are the ones that we hopefully will cherish. And after we cherish them, maybe we can hand them on. And I think now, as I reflect upon it, that it's important to get rid of the things that don't make a whole lot of sense right now, but to hold on to those things that will mean something, not just for me, but for those who come after me. Maybe that's the best way to make decisions, because maybe that's wisdom. May God bless you. I hope you have a great week. Amen.